Hey, it's Marko here from Fair Realty. Today I am making a correction to a video I made 10 days ago in regards to the BC government announcing policy changes pertaining to the first-time buyer property transfer tax exemption. I and a lot of people misunderstood it. It was very poorly worded on the part of the government. I think they were trying to make this policy change look like a bigger factor than it actually is. So what's going on? So I stated in my video that the BC government had increased the property transfer tax exemption for first-time buyers from $500,000 to $835 with a sliding scale to $860. That is incorrect. The BC government, if you read the fine print, increased the threshold for first-time buyers from $500,000 to $835. They did not increase the exemption. The exemption remains at $500,000. So you're probably wondering, what am I talking about? So let me give you real-life examples. A month ago, before this government announcement, if you were a first-time buyer and you bought a $500,000 property, you paid zero property transfer tax. If you bought an $800,000 property a month ago as a first-time buyer, you paid the full property transfer tax, which would work out to $14,000 on an $800,000 purchase. Fast forward to today, to the new policy, which takes effect April 1st. You have to be completing on a property after April 1st. If you're a first-time buyer and you buy an $800,000 property, even though the threshold's been increased to $835, you're only exempt from property transfer tax up to the first $500,000. So you would save $8,000, but you would still pay the 2% property transfer tax between $500,000 and $800,000. So as a first-time buyer, you're not completely exempt up until $835. You would still pay $6,000 in property transfer tax if you're buying an $800,000 property as a first-time buyer. You would only be exempt on the first $500,000. So what's the sliding scale all about? The sliding scale from $835 to $860, that's in reference to the $8,000 you're saving on the first $500,000. So if you're somewhere in between $835 and $860, you would be saving approximately half of that $8,000, which might be $4,000 if you're somewhere in the middle of that sliding scale. Let's say you bought something in between $835 and $860. If this is very confusing, it is. I have no idea why the government decided to do this. Property transfer tax has worked in the same way for the last 30 years. The threshold and the exemption were the exact same number, but the government switched it up to confuse everyone. Now the exemption and the threshold are two different things. To make matters even more complicated, for brand new builds up to 1.1 million, you're fully exempt from property transfer tax. So for the brand new builds, when you're buying from a builder or a developer, there is no exemption threshold, different numbers. They're both the same number at 1.1 million. So you'd be saving $20,000 buying a brand new property at $1.1 million. So basically, unfortunately, the government's made property transfer tax more complicated in terms of figuring out for first-time buyers. So hopefully the government puts up some correct calculators on their website where first-time buyers are going to be able to enter the purchase price, and it's going to be able to give them a number. Keep in mind, the number you're going to be saving between $500,000 and $835 as a first-time buyer is always going to be $8,000. The amount you pay additional is going to vary. So $600,000 property, you're going to pay $2,000 in property transfer tax. $700,000 property, you're going to pay $4,000 in property transfer tax, etc. That is my correction for today. Marko from Fair Realty.